Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
After a 2-week delayed start due to iRacing downtime, we are back. And we can finally conclude the Nordic F3 Championship for round 6 here at the Nürburgring on the Grand Prix circuit on Apex Racing TV. Wow, what can we say? Above all other circuits, the Nürburgring has a history and tradition which is intertwined with that of motorsport itself. Of course, the Green Hell, as Jackie Stewart so memorably described it, has been thrilling and terrifying drivers in equal measure since 1927. But it was actually on the Südschleife, the southern part of the circuit, which went on to form the Grand Prix circuit, that we will be racing here today, and I'm sure it's going to provide great spectacles and challenges for the drivers alike and us at home. Welcome along. I'm Tim Cox. We've got Lewis and Riot in the production booth, but as always, I'm joined by Seb Bosher-Williams. Seb, after a bit of a false start last week, we got halfway through qualifying. We're going for it again, and well, as you just see for the championship standings, still everything up for grabs. Grebstrad is going to be a tight margin, but he could, and it's an incredibly long shot, potentially pip Isaacson to the post, but it's going to come to a big swing with Isaacson basically DNFing both races and Grebstrad having another double victory for him to secure the championship.
I think you're completely right there, Tim. Good evening to everybody at home tuning in for, as you rightly point out, a very delayed series finale to the Nordic F3 Championship. And, you're talking about, Isaacson, he is a threat at the moment of being at the top of the timing stands. If you remember now, almost, a month ago now, when we're at our last race where Isaacson, it was his race to lose, basically, and he did. He lost so many points. That was it, Barcelona. So we know that Isaacson can make these mistakes, and Grebstrad is on an absolute roll at the moment. He's had some incredible performances in the last few races. His pace in practice has been fairly solid as well. So, while it's definitely an uphill battle for Grebstrad, it's not out of the impossible. And, we know anything can happen in the Nordic F3 Championship, Tim. That's why we absolutely adore it.
Yeah, not wrong there, Seb. So for me, it's going to be the interesting one. It's going to be between Grebstrad and Meyer. So they're guaranteed of finishing in the top 3. Of course, there's no Thomas Torp here this week with us. So It is basically a shootout between the pair of them as who's going to pick up second in the championship. Wow, let's get trackside. It's going to take a big swing of points. You see, we're 42 points difference between the pair of them because qualifying is well underway. Just about halfway through, some drivers have managed to get in the first lap. Ryan just popping into 10th place there, bottom of the timing sheets with his first lap. But Gredstrad, well, been quiet all season. Had a couple of podiums. Some may say nothing special. Bit of an average driver, but Barcelona is where it all changed for him with that double victory in races 1 and 2, picking up pretty much Seb where he's left off. Some of the timing sheets by a good 10th of the second, but as always, that's where it gets incredibly close because just shy of 200ths of a second, the difference between Gullickson and Larsen, that difference between being on the second and the first and the second row. Maya currently down in 4th and a second covering our top 7. And don't discredit Isaacson, bit down there at the moment in 7th place, but has only completed the 1 flying lap. The drivers do have 4 available laps in qualifying, and of course the track to themselves. Now Seb, we were just having a bit of a chat about the weather. I know, very British thing, but the wind, Seb, I understand it's quite gusty here and high speed gusts as well.
I don't even think gusty sort of covers it. It's super bad out there at the moment. I think if we were, actually at the circuit, we'd have to hold our hats down and all sorts of shenanigans. Yeah, 21 kilometers, as you can see on the very helpful graphic at the side of the screen. And actually, that's some of the highest wind speed that I've ever seen in iRacing. It's super bad, and it's going to mean that the car is very difficult to control it. And because it's gusting, the car is unpredictable. You're not going to have the same levels of grip that you did a lap before. And if you add into that, the fact that the fuel load is going to be dropping off every lap and the tyres are going to be sort of degrading and heating up in different ways, it's going to be really tricky for the drivers out there at the moment. And you can see, the direction that the wind is facing, about 295 degrees at the moment. So, there or thereabouts, sort of northwest-ish. And that's going to be sort of a crosswind into sort of turns 1, 2, 3, and 4. Going to make that section super challenging for the drivers. And, the Mercedes arena isn't known really for being that easy on drivers when it's, perfectly calm and cool conditions. So, yeah, certainly a huge challenge for the drivers out there. But one good bit of news for the drivers is the track temp is nice and low today, 23 degrees. So, you're not going to have too many issues with track temp. It's all going to be about the wind.
So Chassis Isaacson has promoted himself from 8th up to the top of the standings in qualifying at the moment. Provisional pole with him at the moment. Greb Chadramotis is second. Jakob Behrens third. And Desmaya still in 4th on the second row. Jessenbacher did get as high up as the front row in second, but promotion for Larsen as well as the others we've just mentioned. He's down to 6th. Now Isaacson, we saw him here on Apex Racing TV last night in the GT3 Trophy. He was involved for a race-long freeway battle over 2nd place. It all ended in disaster. I'm sure he's going to be one driver that is out for redemption as Maya just pops onto the front row with a 2nd place time as well. Instantly then demoted as Grebstrad. So he's really got the bit between his teeth at 148.49. Incredibly close stuff. Half a second covering first down to 5th. There's Grebstrad, Isaacson, Meyer, Larsen, and Behrens, with Jessenbacher not too far behind either. The drivers pretty much on their last flying lap. They've got plenty of time to do so. 2 minutes left in qualifying. Asgard currently in 13th. He's only completed 2 laps, so he's got a good chance to promote himself. Likewise, as Harrison in 11th place. Grebstrad is done and dusted, not going to go again, just sticking with his 3 laps. So he's locked in his time of a 148.488. There's a lock up there from Asgard. That's not going to help him at all as he exits the Mercedes arena there. We're just having a bit of a look of who's on that on the improving lap, Seb.
Not many people at the moment. I think we're starting to see the tyres just start to degrade as Asgard once again making a mistake, this time out of Ford curve. You have a look at Ryan Jr. down in 12th place at the moment. he is sort of improving. He's on a personal best through the third sector. But, you know, while I was looking at the sector times, Tim, what I noticed is that Maya down in third place has not set a purple sector anywhere through this session, and that's really unusual for Anders Maya. He's been absolutely rapid this whole season long, and it's just not coming together for him at the moment as we head through the chicane, bouncing over the curbs. That lap going to be aborted. That's confirmed by his entry into the pits. Is Gullickson now displaces Maya from the top three, so Anders Maya got it all to do. And you have to say that Grebstrad at the moment is in a great spot. I mean, that pace is just simply sublime. And, you know, it was only a very short qualifying session that we had 2 weeks ago. But if my memory serves me correctly, Tim, which it probably doesn't, I think it was Grebstrad actually in the lead of that session too. So he really does have some pace around here.
Yes, indeed. And if he can hold on to this one, which is looking likely, it's only Jokelsson, Ryan and Asgard out on track at the moment, and the latter two not looking like they're going to be vying for a pole position time here, as there's Jokelsson across the line, no improvement for him. He remains 8th, and that's the end of qualifying anyway. Time and done and dusted. And Grebstrad taking his first pole position of the year in qualifying. Congratulations for him. Form really coming together in the championship. Some might say maybe a little bit too late, but better late than never. And the Ignium Motorsport drivers you see there, starting on pole with Isaacson, joining him for company on the front row. Gullickson and Meyer on the second row. Larsen has Jakob Behrens joining him, his teammate on the third row of the grid. There's Jesper and Bakker and Jokelsson on the fourth row. And running on the top 10, it's also Holt and Skerrett on the fifth row. Haraldson, he's got Espresso Ryan Jr. with him on the sixth row. And then the last complete row, the seventh row, the good Asgard and Haugsson, with Joachimsdotter rounding out the field. She unfortunately did not set a time, but will be out there, and definitely, as always, everything to play for across 2 races for you today. First, a 15-minute sprint race, followed by the 30-minute longer race with a pit stop in the middle. The grid for that one will be formed from the race result of race 1, but of course the top 8, as always, will be inverted. So 8th position will be promoted up to first down to 8th, and obviously everyone changing around accordingly in between, and just waiting for the last few drivers to take to the grid, and then we'll be away racing here in Germany for the first time today, and the first race of the season. But here come the lights, and let's get ready to go racing at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. And we are away, and not a really good start there from Myra. No, sorry, it was Gullickson on the second row of the grid. Just about getting away, a little bit slow to the lights, and there's a race down to turn 1. Isaacson and Grebstrad just about nudging in one another. Grebstrad is much he was on the outside. He's going to have the inside there to the second part of the Mercedes, but Isaacson fighting back hard, and there's almost a bit of banging wheels, and Meyer coming under a bit of pressure there from Gullickson. He's trying to snatch that place away from him. He's taking the wider outside line, just bumbling across the curbs there, making it through, nobody losing it, fortunately. Something's happened to Haraldson. He's had a bit of an incident somewhere, according to our software. We'll see if we can bring you that shortly. As everyone just filing through, nose to tail. Slight changes from position. So Isaacson, he's up 1, ahead of Grebstrad. Mario and Gullickson have swapped places. Likewise behind them, Behrens and Larsen from their starting positions. And you see this group all following along in a one long drain, and then the back 4 of Haraldson, Haugsson, Asgard and Jokelsson just starting to get cut a little bit of drift right now. So we're on board with Meyer, and you can see the dueling Grebstrad and Isaacson in front of you. Grebstrad on the right, Isaacson on the left, and these two practically holding hands, still side by side. They sort themselves out there as we come out through Warsteiner, head round Advan. And now the race up to the chicane, and we're going to see a 3 wide. No, Meyer just elects to back out of it there, playing the safer game. But Grebstrad slots it past Isaacson. Those two still trading places. Meyer can see an opportunity. He can smell it. He can sense it. There's Isaacson compromised on his exit. Meyer sweeps down. Behrens having a little bit of a look up the inside. But as they come across the line, Grebstrad leads from Isaacson, Meyer, Gullickson, and Behrens getting incredibly close there. Larsen is 6th, then Jesper Bakker, Jokelsson, Otterholt, Skerrett rounding out top 10, then Haraldson, Asgard God, Halkson and Jakobstad are completing the field. But as Seb, I tell you what, so close racing once again. Gullickson and Behrens trading places, left, right, and centre, like two kids trading Pokemon cards in the schoolyard.
Oh, and it's going to be a little bit of a fight, I think, as that's the 55 car going ever so wide. That's Gullickson having a massive bout of oversteer, manages to keep it out of the wall. They're still side by side through turn 5. That's going to give the inside line to Behrens. Through the forward curve we go. This battle still amazingly clean for both drivers. It's what we love to see from our Nordic F3 Championship competitors, as there's a little bit of a late lunge there for Behrens. Can't find his way through the hairpin as we head up towards the Schumacher S's, but top 3 now getting separated from this battle. It's certainly a sort of a 2 races going on at the moment, Tim. We've got, Grebstrup, Isaacson and Meyer, our top 3 in the championship, and that's going to be a battle. It's still, we go side by side, and I think Behrens now has got the upper hand over Gullickson. Gullickson's going to have to concede this place, get in the slipstream and try and make a move down towards the chicane, but Ketchel Larsen now getting involved on the action. He wants a slice of this pie, but just smartly backs out of it, decides to not get involved yet. We head through side by side. I don't think these drivers have not been, well, I think every corner that they've attempted so far this lap, Tim, has been side by side between Gullickson and Behrens.
Just about saw themselves up there heading on the exit of Coca-Cola, coming round now to head out on to lap 2. Lap 3 even, apologies, and a big late move there from Behrens as he fills the dummy to Gullickson, but if Gullickson can hang it right around the outside, and there we go, Behrens locks up, slides the car around to get it stopped in time as they come back toing and froing against one another. But as Behrens finally got the move done, well, it looks that way, he closes off Gullickson to prevent any comeback, and finally Behrens secures that 4th place. But as the cost, Seb, that you were saying, so that gap to the top 3, who are now 2.5 seconds up the road as the sun comes out here in Germany. Well, he's going to need his race to brighten up, like the sun has just come out here, because he needs to heavily close up that gap and quickly, and just pray that Gullickson behind him just doesn't start to try and attack him, because he will then stand no chance, because we're already nearly a third of the way through the race.
I think at this point he's got no hope of being able to catch the top 3 without a little bit of intervention from the top 3 themselves, getting involved in a battle or sort of having a few incidents. But Gullickson wanting his 4th place back. Behrens having to go defensive through turns 10 and 11, weaving down the back straight as we head towards the NGK chicane. Behrens, he's going to have to go defensive, but look at his IGL Coatings teammate lurking in the background. Gullickson tries to go all the way around the outside of the chicane. Going to be an amazing move if he can pull it off. And who's this in the background? That's Jokkelson now getting involved. Contact!
Oh, Seb, it's all
That's
gone wrong.
Larsen.
That was, as Larsen was just trying to play the sweeper there to try and poach his way through. And they got up onto the curbs, lost the rear end, and round into Jokkelson, who's now locked in a drag race with Jestrenbakken, who's had a relatively quiet race so far. That's the move done there by Jestrenbakken. Ahead of Jokkelson, you have to wonder how much damage has Jokkelson got, because that was a big, big impact, Seb.
You can see the damage to the front wing there. It's all bent up in the very typical iRacing fashion of damage, yeah. So that's going to really affect his car performance. He's going to find it difficult to get the nose turned in. He's going to be using more front end, and he's lucky that he's got the damage in the 15-minute sort of sprint race rather than the longer form factor 30-minute race, because that will be when it's starting to affect your long-term performance. Your tires are going to be wearing out more quickly. You see a little bit of a lock-up there as we head into the Dunlop curve, or turn 7. Jokkelson really on the back foot. His only hope is that if he allows Scarrett to get past, or if Scarrett does get past, which it's looking like he's going to as we head towards turn 10, Jokkelson having to go defensive. He's going to be very brave to stick it up the inside with that damaged front wing, but he does so now, tries to go around the outside of turn 11, but he's got to watch out for Otterholt. Otterholt's looking ever looming in the mirrors. Number 91 in all of its black livery, really just certainly looks very menacing on the track. But if Jokkelsen can just somehow survive in 8th place, and it's looking like he's not really going to be able to do that, but if he can, he'll get reverse grid pole, and he can kind of use this sort of mistake, this incident, to his advantage. But I think it's the long shot.
Yeah, halfway through race 1, Grebstrad leads from Isaacson. We've got a replay coming in. Let's take a bit of a look at what this is showing us. As Haraldson there with an issue.
So this is the start, Tim. So we mentioned that Haraldson had some form of issue on the start, and let's see what's going to happen. Is he just going to make a little bit of contact to somebody, a little bit of a clumsy first lap incident, or has he done what our lovely software? Oh no, see, there's a little bit of contact, I think, there between, I think that was a 74 car and another car. But I think what's happened there, Tim, is that it sort of triggered our software. He ran very wide through turn 1, and I think that's triggered our software to sort of say that he's had some form of incident. But Haraldson, let's have a look actually at the Larsen incident, Tim, and I'll be interested to get your perspective on what's happening, and it just looks like a little bit of a pincer maneuver there.
That's exactly how it seems to me as well, Seb, and wow, you've got a feel for Larsen, racing hard, racing strong, trying to pick up some places while he had the opportunity, and then it all falls apart for him. Such dramatic style, and he has managed to get back out again, but has obviously headed to the pits to replace some of the damaged bodywork that he incurred from that contact with Jokkelsen. He's managed to keep going, but just look at the sharp end, 4 tenths of a second. So all that it covers are top 3. We've got 6 minutes left in race 1. You know, quite often it can be an orderly affair. All of a sudden it can change on a blink of an eye, and the gloves come off, and it turns out into a real slugfest. And with it being the last round of the season, you can bet your bottom dollar it will be no different. Here is heading to the inside. Here's Isaacson. We're on board with Meyer, who's got ringside seats for these two, dueling it out. Grebstrad just, I'm not even sure, around the outside, managed to sneak back ahead of Isaacson, probably where you get some of the power of that a little bit earlier there, Seb, I'm guessing.
Isaacson was so lucky though. He had that, as you were saying, you know, he was going sort of cutting back to try and get the better run, but he was so lucky that Meyer understood what was going on ahead of him and had the race awareness to not stick his nose where it wasn't warranted, as those sort of types of moves can easily end up with an incident. That's Grebstrad locking up into turn 6. That's going to allow Isaacson to really catch up to him now. We are heading towards an overtaking opportunity. You can stick it up the inside of Dunlop, and that's exactly what's going to happen. And let's see, I think Isaacson is now in the lead. And Tim, this will be Isaacson's first race win this season. And how incredible is that? He's our championship leader. He's been absolutely rapid, but has never finished on the top step. But as it stands at the moment, he's in that position. Is Meyer now looking at Grebstrad? Grebstrad needs to compose himself very quickly if he wants to remain in the fight for the win, but he's defending from Meyer, and Isaacson's just running off into the distance.
That's Grebstrad obviously picking up the 2 victories last time out of Barcelona, but looks like he could even lose out a place here to Meyer, who can see Isaacson getting ahead and pulling away there, and gets the move done into the chicane. Now needs to get pedal to the metal because the gap already, Isaacson pulling out 8 tenths of a second, getting past Grebstrad and not hanging around one little bit. There's 11 minutes left on the clock. They completed out of 15 as Jokkelsen and Otterholt trading places. Otterholt is a crucial 8th place. Damage to Jokkelsen's car, clearly hurting him hard, as Ryan also making his way past already. But you can see Larsen just having a little bit of a twitch, it looked like they're up in front. And you're saying about Isaacson, never stood on the top step of the podium. Been on the podium every single race, bar 2. So that's the 10 races that we've had previously before today. The only time he hasn't stood on top on the podium was last summer in race 2 at Barcelona, and the other time came in also in race 2, and that was at Kota. That seems absolute age away now. It's such a long time ago. So those 2 times he's never finished on the podium. Apologies, and can he convert this race into a race victory? Pick it up for the first time this season, and well, I mean, we were saying there was going to be an absolute miracle was required for Grebstrad to clinch the championship title, but Isaacson right now, just all he needs to do is bring the car home. He will then fully secure it. And Meyer, well, he is taking some time out of him, Seb. On this last lap alone, that's closed up by 0.3 of a second. Is this not quite done and dusted yet?
I don't think it's ever done and dusted until the checkered flag flies in the Nordic F3 Championship. Anders Meyer went purple in Sector 1, had the best time of anybody through, obviously, Turn 1, and I think the Sector 1 also covers the Mercedes Arena. And that says to me, Tim, that as actually Isaacson runs very wide through the final corner, it tells me that Meyer has got better tyres at the moment. He's got more grip, more confidence in his car, and is able to place it where he wants to. As we see, Behrens and Gullickson, I think, had some form of coming together at the start of last lap. I think Gullickson might be carrying a little bit of damage, and also you were mentioning, Tim, that Otterholt and Jokkelsen were in that battle for 8th place, and it was going on for a long amount of time. Jokkelsen was really hanging in there, even with the damage to his front wing, but I think they've also had either some coming together or Jokkelsen's been forced off the track, or something's happened, because Jokkelsen now down in 11th place. So, you know, from being sort of 7th or 8th, now outside of the top 10, disastrous for Jokkelsen. And actually, doesn't it look on this lap, Tim, that Grebstrad is just catching up a little bit to Meyer, and Meyer has gone from, you know, maybe attacking Isaacson to now coming under pressure from Grebstrad behind.
Well, that's something like you see there from that purple time. Meyer taking the fastest lap of the race, 148.859. Let's drive in racing conditions to get into the 148. Also, by considerable margin against his competitors, but this is ebbing and flowing, and as you're saying there, Seb, Grebstrad, no, he's turning up the wick on Meyer, whereas Meyer turning up against Isaacson. The gap between Isaacson and Meyer has sort of stagnated, but Grebstrad, you can see there, taking big chunks out of the Meyer in sectors 1, 2, and 3. Some, what, 2.5 tenths already. And now it's into the slipstream, and as they're going to come across the start-finish line, the white flag is going to fly here in race 1. And as they weave across the start-finish line, Isaacson trying to break the toe to Meyer and Grebstrad. 1 lap left remaining of race 1. Can Isaacson hold on for his first victory this season? Or is there going to be another twist in the tail here at Nordic F3 Championship? Well, not long left to find out, and you can see where Meyer is so much stronger than Isaacson through these first few sectors, Seb. Especially for the Mercedes Arena, he's closed right up. He's taken a few attempts out of Isaacson already.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be really crucial for race number 2. Meyer's just able to keep his tyres in much better condition. Grebstrad, I think, has started to fall away. Lock up there as well. I think that was Meyer actually locking up through the Ford curve. So yeah, I think this is sort of an informative race. I think Isaacson, unless any major dramas occur, has got this one in the bag. He's almost survived, you know, the most easiest overtaking opportunity, which is turn 1. But Meyer does look like he has the better setup, and Grebstrad as well cannot be underestimated. But, you know, Grebstrad at the moment, he needs to go for these sort of high-risk manoeuvres. He needs as many points as he can get. So if there's an opportunity that, you know, appears itself in any way or any form from now until the checkered flag, he needs to take it to have any chance of staying in the championship battle.
Back from Isaacson. That's what 7 tenths of a second looks like, and just got to head through the chicane. The Coca-Cola curve left it to remain, and Isaacson, as he rounds the final corner, is going to pick up his first victory of the season in the final round. The first time stepping on the top step of the podium. Take a bow. Nils-Erik Isaacson, Meyer and Grebstrad are going to round out the podium. Jakob Behrens in 4th. Jestrom-Bakken is going to finish in 5th place with Gullickson. Wow, he might feel a bit disappointed by 6th. Garrett Otterholt picks up a crucial 8th place and will be starting from pole in race 2. Wow, as we see Jokkelsen and Asgard just trying to close in the last stages. Jokkelsen having a bit of a chase to the line too, but They're going to remain as they are. No changes in for position there as Alton comes across the line. And, well, drama from the green flag to the checkered. It's just another average day here in the Nordic F3 Championship as we see, wow, quite possibly the most unlucky driver in race 1, Larsen of IGL Coatings iRacing. He's heading through the chicane. Then the final turn. It was exactly here that his race all fell apart, getting onto the curves and spearing across the track straight into Haraldson. And that put pay to his race as he had to head into the pits and the damage repaired, and he crosses the line, and we'll be able to bring you up your classified results incredibly shortly of what has been an intriguing race 1 to say the least. And here they are for you. Isaacson picks up his first victory of the season. Congratulations to him. It's been a long time coming. Maya back to the podium ways after not featuring last time out at Barcelona. And finishes in the same position he did at Silverstone in race 2 last time we saw him. We've got Grebstrad. Couldn't make it 3 wins on the bounce. Would have been the first driver to do so. He joins Torp and Maya in... well, no, apologies. No, we did have a triple race victory from Maya. Apologies about that one. And as Maya. Jakob Behrens finishes in 4th with Jessenbach in 5th. Gullikson 6th. Scarrett, Otterholt in that crucial 8 places we mentioned. He will be taking pole position for race 2. Ryan and Harrelson are going to round out your top 10 with Jokkelsen, Asgard, Joachimsdotter, Haugson and Larsen rounding out your 15-car field here in race 1. Seb, race 2. This pit stops. Bit of strategy comes into play. And of course we've got that reverse gear as well. Really jumbles and mixes things up.
It really does, and these drivers have got to be on it. They've got to be really wary of their tyres, of their fuel, of everything. This pit stop adds so much jeopardy and interest for us in the commentary box. I'm absolutely a fan of it. Yeah, I think from race 1, we can take the top 3 have very similar pace. Isaacson managed to find a way past... he managed to find his way past Gullikson, but I don't think Isaacson necessarily has the quickest pace out of all of them. So I think it's still going to be a really tight pack. These sort of top 3 making their way through the field. It does look like Meyer has a little bit better, either ability to tyre save or just, setup that allows him to tyre save a little bit more, but he definitely did have more grip, through the Mercedes arena as we sort of rounded into the latter stages of race 1. That's going to really help him through race 2. And we do have the pit stop, but I don't really think we've ever seen a driver take tyres during that pit stop, Tim. It's very unusual. They lose so much time in the sort of the warm-up phase that they tend not to really want to go on to a new set. So it is about keeping those tyres alive. And also, we didn't see too much sort of incidents or action in race 1. And I sort of feel like it's sort of building up to quite an amazing end to the season. And I, for one, cannot wait to get the race underway.
I can't either, Seb. Now, this track has had a bit of a tricky start to life, obviously, during the outbreak of World War II. So curtailed plans for when it was looking to be built. Of course, the German manufacturers didn't really have racing track to be able to hone their cars on, unless the Nürburgring, in its much larger format, was born. And it now provides the circuit for great racing here today in a nice modern up-to-date facility. So here is your grid, just confirming also how on pole, Scarrett on the front row with him, Gullikson and Jesper back in the second row, Behrens and Grebstrad on the third row, Meyer and race 1 winner Isaacson there on the 4th row, Ryan and Harrelson for company on the 5th row, running at top 10 with Jokkelsen and Asgard lining up alongside one another on row 6. Last complete row is Joachimsdotter, who starts 2 places higher than where she did race 1 with Haugson for company, and Larsen, well, he's going to be coming from the back. Could we see a last to first challenge from Larsen? Oh, not long left to find out as we just wait for the last drivers to grid up. We will be away for the final time this season of what has been an absolutely epic championship. And here come the lights. And let's get ready to go racing for the second time from the Nürburgring. And we are away. And Maya getting an absolutely blinding start there from the third row. Really catching up. But what's a start from Otterhole, looking really clear as all got a free wide there, and everyone just about makes it through, but they're still attempting to go free wide as we just see backing out. I think that was Scarrett there, just bailing, getting a bit nervous as it was getting incredibly close between Gullickson and Behrens there. As they're still side by side, you can see Maya, great start from him, already in 3 places into 4th, Scarrett down 3. As, oh no, there's a spinner, and wow, that sent everyone flying. Everyone comes to scatter the way through, but Maya's picked his way through, so has Scarrett, Grebstrad, Isaacson too, and yes, from Bakurin and Behrens, the 2 teammates, they're out.
Disastrous start for both of them, as you rightly point out, Tim, and I think also something's happened to Isaacson. I think he's been involved in some form of issue down into turn 1. We'll have to see if he's picked up any damage, and this is what happened to Gullickson. As we head through the Mercedes arena, he's in a good position at the moment. Just needs to keep it, and round the car goes. Contact actually with that Scarrett, isn't it? The 12 car, I think, involved in that. Sorry, that's Behrens involved in that too. Apologise, and yeah, you've got to feel bad if you are Gullickson, because that was a fairly sort of easy mistake to not make, but what happens to the best of us, especially with the cold tyres. But this is Grebstrad now trying to make his way past Scarrett. He's going to do that, I think, before even hit the braking zone of the chicane, although Scarrett trying to keep his nose in there, manages to defend very nicely and sets him into the sights of Isaacson. Teammates playing a little bit of a role at the moment, but what an absolutely superb start from Maya. I didn't even realise, Tim, that he was in the lead. That's how quick he was. I didn't even sort of expect to be looking that far up the timing tower to see where Maya was. I mean, that's how you do a race, and that's the pace that we haven't really seen from Maya since the opening few rounds.
As Grebstrad just getting past Isaacson once again there as Scarrett runs it in deep. He's going to lose big ground there. Not having the best of starts that he would have helped for. Ryan, he's not far behind him. You can see him in that leading that sort of peloton pack behind, but he's going under attack from Jokson. He just snatches a front left brake there into the corner as they exit the Mercedes arena. He's on the outside, and everyone fans across and just about makes it through. I thought we were going to have a sense of deja vu, history repeating itself after a lap 1 incident, but no, everyone makes it past. And Jokson, sorry, it's Larsen, isn't it? Apologies. Who's had an absolute blinding start from the back. Up 8 places already, charging hard as we race down to Dunlop now. It's tight hairpin, incredibly close between all the drivers, and then up the hill to the notorious Schumacher S's. Larsen is ahead of Ryan Jokson. See remaining as they were pretty much. Larsen just jumping past everyone, already have 9 places into 6. They're coming in the pressure from Ryan. Oh, and there's contact. Ryan just connects with the rear wheel of Larsen, goes skywards, almost Mark Webber-esque at Le Mans all those years ago. And I'm not sure how he's managed to keep, I think he's kept it out of the wall step. And if he has, that is miraculous, because none of his wheels were in contact with the ground.
No, they weren't. So we see that incident there manages to, yeah, as you say, quickly gather up the car. Doesn't even look like he suffered any damage. Actually, no, I take it back. That rear wheel looks very disconnected from the chassis, and that just proves it. Round he goes through turn 11, and that is, unfortunately, Espresso Ryan's Junior's race, I think, done and dusted, or at least will be by the time he's had to tow back to the pits, take the quick repair, and get out on track. And well, at least it's effectively done, I should say. But Larsen still managing to sort of keep on his way. No major damage to the OGL Coatings E-Racing car. But Jokkelsen, I was going to say, you know, one of the most unluckiest drivers on the grid. Jokkelsen with that damage in race 1, having to avoid Gullickson through on that one through the exit of the Mercedes arena. But Jokkelsen now starting to go its way, manages to get past Larsen in all of that kerfuffle, but Larsen wants his place back, and it's the battle between the 2 unluckiest drivers from race 1. Who is going to be unlucky and who is going to have their bad luck continue? Larsen looking very racy at the moment. Lock up there from Jokkelsen. Can't afford to do that especially not in this 30-minute long race. And yeah, I think Jokkelsen is starting to feel the pressure from behind.
Got a bit of a margin to make up. At 2.3 seconds, the gap between themselves and Scarrett, who was ahead of him. Maya still leading 3 seconds, nearly clear of Grebstrad in second. Isaacson currently in third, going for yet another podium finish for him. Make it 10 podiums for the season, including that win that he picked up in race 1.
You got traffic.
He has, yes. Whilst I said that we completely in the west, of course it's the recovering Berens and Yesterbakken, as we see Yesterbakken moving right out the way there, but actually dipping out the power to make it really easy there for Maya. He just comes careering past at an absolute rate of knots and down into turn 1. See different lines from the two drivers there, quite intriguing. Maya setting another new fastest lap of the race, 49.2 for him. Absolutely charging hard and growing that gap to Grebstrad and Isaacson behind him. 2.8 seconds the margin already. Nearly 2.9. Fascinating stuff. As you saw, just caught in the background there, Grebstrad getting very loose and leery on the curbs on the exit out of Mercedes.
He was. I'm very surprised that we didn't see him sort of spear across quite Gullickson-esque and end up in the barrier. Great car control from Grebstrad, but Isaacson looming large in the mirrors once again. We know that Isaacson has the ability to overtake around here. He managed to find his way actually past Grebstrad. Only one race ago. Jokkelsen now still defending from Larsen as we head through Dunlop Curve. Larsen, though, another IGL Coatings driver, just really just looking now for a place to make his move. He does look quicker than Jokkelsen. As he pulls in the slipstream, he's going to try and go down the inside. Almost a repeat of what we saw between him. Oh, and there's a spinner in the background. That's Otterholt. That's our pole sitter, Tim. He is round, and I don't even think that was contact. I think Otterholt has made some form of mistake through that sort of fiddly section after the Schumacher S's.
Oh, no, with being in prime position, and I'll tell you, he's going for a great result. I think it would have been his best finish of the season. You know, comes undone for Otterholt, down to 10th place, the number 91 machine. Wow. So we've got a replay coming in. This is hopefully going to show us what happened to Otterholt. It looks fine so far, Seb. Has he touched the grass on the entry? No, it's all okay. Just too much speed, too much momentum, and not enough adhesion from the tyres, and around he goes.
Yeah, and picked up a little bit too much inside curve for good measure. I don't think that would have caused the spin, but it certainly wouldn't have helped him one bit. This Jokkelsen Larsen battle still going very strong. Larsen on the inside through the Mercedes arena. Really have to be brave to make that move as you're unsighted. The driver already looking at the next apex. They're not really paying attention to that left-hander. They're already looking at the right-hander, so you put yourself in a very dangerous position. You head through turn 5. Jokkelsen on the inside. Larsen not able to make a move through the forward curve, but Jokkelsen been forced to defend. Went a little bit too deep through turn 6, and that's allowing Larsen to keep in touch with him as we head to the braking zone of the hairpin. Another lock-up from Jokkelsen. Those front tyres will be absolutely screaming at this point. I'm surprised, to be honest, he's not struggling for some turning at the moment, as the temperature of those tyres must be through the roof.
Well, you say that, Seb. Larsen, he's had his fair share of lock-ups too in the last few corners as he makes a lunge to the inside, backs out of it. Oh, wow, manages to save the half spin there. Larsen, and that's going to, well, Jokkelsen, what a sigh of relief. I'm sure I just heard it from inside the cockpit in all this distance. As Larsen drops right off the back from being right about a 10th behind him. He's now 1.1 seconds, but that 1.2 behind him, and now Larsen has Haraldsen for company looming large in his mirrors. It's getting incredibly close between the pair of them, and just one mistake can be the difference of transforming your race, as Larsen experiencing there as Otterholt and Haraldsen. They're having a bit of a scrap here. That's Otterholt getting past Haraldsen. He had dropped down to 10th after that mistake. Cost him so dearly, but as he made it too soon, because here comes Haraldsen, and he's going to have the inside line into turn 1 through the Mercedes arena, as lock up from, I think both of them locking up there on the entrance. Bit of a tricky corner there, isn't it, Seb? Because so easy to lock up where the track just drops away from you on the right-hand side.
It's absolutely crazy how much the track drops away. If you ever get the chance to go to the Nürburgring, I recommend going to turn 1 just to see, you know, the amount of difference, and you sort of wonder how all of these cars manage to actually get through the corner. It's absolutely incredible. Yeah, so easy to lock the tyre. And there's also many lines through turn 1 as well, and that can really sort of confuse you, especially if you're sort of in this sort of will-to-will combat that Otterholt and Haxon find themselves in at the moment. Otterholt coming off worse, but that's very wide from Haxon. I don't really think that's his optimal racing line. I think just a little bit too deep under brakes, and decides instead of sort of carrying a lockup, just goes a little bit wide. But yeah, Haxon not really having the pace or the confidence in the car at the moment. But yeah, Otterholt, after that mistake, having to come through the field. And of course, Tim, you know, after making that mistake, not only do you sort of feel frustrated with yourself, especially, you know, considering Otterholt was our pole sitter for race 2, but you also have to deal with the tyres being a little bit more worn. You've sort of dragged them across the track quite unwillingly for quite a few meters. They're hot. It's still just like this sort of spiraling sort of deterioration in everything, and it's so hard just to sort of back out of it and find your rhythm again. But Otterholt doing a great job at the moment, but you know, especially when you're in a battle like this, it can be so challenging, and you can end up making unforced errors that you'd rather not make.
It's Otterholt now in slipstream range, and maybe this could be the chance to return the favour, but Haxon just defends that inside line. Can he hold on to this position? But so Otterholt swooping down from the outside. The pair of them locking up into turn 1, but it's going to give Otterholt the inside line here into Mercedes really the second part of it. And he's got the move done, or has he? Because, wow, what a lunge on the brakes there. Take a bow, Haxon. That can't be completely unawares as he just lunged through there. Otterholt trying to instantly respond, but Haxon saying, no, you don't, and slams the door right in his face as Otterholt has yet another look. And these two will not leave each other alone. They are scrapping corner after corner after corner as we run down to Dunlop. Well, are we going to see another lunge here? No, Otterholt, wow, he's having a go once again, finding the inside. You can see the brakes glowing red as they were slamming the anchor there to get it slowed down in time. But somehow Haxon just emerges on the other side in front. But this is not done and dusted by any stretch of the imagination here, Seb. There's Otterholt. He's going to try and look down to the inside bubbles across the curb. Haxon just about carries enough momentum around that outside line to defend the position as they head on the up towards Advan. Oh, wow, Seb. The way these two are trading places, it's ridiculous as Otterholt has another look but thinks against it this time.
Yeah, and you can see by that graphic, while they're all scrapping away, Joachimsdotter just looming large in the background. Is into the pit comes Otterholt. That's very tactical, and I think that's very smart from our pole sitter. He's going to come in. He's going to have to do a little bit of fuel saving, I suspect. 17 minutes or so on a tank of fuel is doable, but yeah, he's trying to go for the undercut, isn't he, Tim? Just get into the pits, get out of the situation even, as we see the battle between Grefstrad and Isaacson. All while we were watching Otterholt and Haxon even. Grefstrad and Isaacson have been battling away and swapping places a few times over, but Grefstrad still in the lead of this little battle for second.
Wow. These two, despite being incredibly close, have stayed, well, exactly how they are, despite that incredibly fine margin between the pair of them. So we're watching that battle previously between Otterholt and Haxon. Those two dueling it out. So Gullickson currently the highest of drivers to head to the pits, but he did head there on lap 1, so he will need to stop again. So Otterholt in 12th, he is our benchmark. The drivers who have taken a official stop, a proper one, not one that's been incurred due to damages. Anders Meyer setting another new fastest lap of the race last time around as he's coming across the line once again. Is it going to be another improvement for him? Today is as Grefstrad, he's into the pit, Seb.
And I think
He's in.
if you're Otterholt at the moment, you'll be breathing such a sigh of relief going, well, if the top runners think that they can sort of make it on around the same sort of time that I'm thinking I can make it on fuel, it does give you extra confidence that actually you have made the right strategy call. Grebstrad didn't enjoy feeling the pressure of Isaacson, but now this is really crucial. What can Isaacson do? Does he have more pace than Anders Meyer, our race leader at the moment? Through the Mercedes Razor goes Neil Erik Isaacson. Just to confuse us, that IGL Coatings car in the middle of Meyer and Isaacson isn't Isaacson as I first thought, because I thought they were a lot closer than they actually were. That's another lapped driver, so Isaacson has got it all to do, but I don't think his teammate's going to make it too hard to get past him. But now we just have to watch the timing stands. Let's see, what can Isaacson do? Did he have more pace when he sort of kept behind Grebstrad, or was that really his maximum pace? Yeah, this is the race sort of playing itself out at the moment, Tim, and that's why we love the pit stop, because it gives us sort of these really interesting sort of mid-sections of the race where maybe the racing isn't, you know, it's maybe good as it is at the start and the end of the race, but you have all of these sort of strategy questions. Makes it absolutely just thoroughly entertaining and a good watch. And actually, it'll be interesting to see when our top two decide to come into the pits. Do they decide to do it early, cover off Grebstrad, or do they stick to their original plan, go later on into the race? I think we're going to find out as they head through the final couple of corners, and it doesn't look to me like Anders Meyer's pulling into the pits. We'll wait to see what Isaacson does, and again, he doesn't come into the pit, so it's definitely two different strategies playing themselves out at the moment.
Well, something's happened to Grebstrad. Looks like he's had a bit of an incident out on track. Let's see if we bring that in. It's Scarrett. He's into the pits, and I didn't quite cap who was following him in. That was Larsen. After that great start of 10 places, he is in. And he managed to clear himself and Harrison are close right up, intriguingly. Harrison, there he goes, heading through. He's going to carry on again. Of course, Grebstrad, he had pitted, so he's going to jump ahead of Scarrett and Larsen. Asgard pipping his way through, but he hasn't popped into the pits. Scarrett and Larsen emerge out the other side. As they went into the pit lane, Jokumsdotter up to 8th temporarily. She is yet to pit as the Icelandic driver. Alexson, the other driver, yet to pit as well, currently in 9th. There is Jokumsdotter of Hell Racing. He's heading through a Mercedes Arena.
While Jokumsdotter is on the screen, sorry Tim, just want to point out the difficulties that she had in race 1. He said that she didn't qualify and she actually had to escape back to the pits. She didn't take the start, so it was 14 seconds down before we'd even got going. So I think she might be having some form of like technical issue with either, you know, the car or her rig. So it's really remarkable that she's up in 8th place, she's found her pace, and actually, when we looked at her at the end of race 1, she'd caught up to the back of the pack. So Jokumsdotter, I think, is a little bit of a dark horse in this race. You know, we haven't really seen her true pace so far today.
Bit of a shame, really. It's always the way, isn't it? You know, you have technical gremlins when you least want or expect them. Meyer continues to extend his gap out of the front. 0.6 seconds, a big advantage he has over Isaacson. See him off in the distance there.
Meyer had a slow lap last lap.
Sorry, Seb. Jokelson is into the pits. And yes, you're spot on. Meyer having, well, by his own standards, I think, Seb, a slow lap. Having said that, Isaacson only went 4 tenths quicker. Still, Meyer has that big advantage, that big buffer. Could well have been when he was clearing back Meyer, because might have just caught them at the wrong moment, and that could be why he's lost a bit of time. Jokumsdotter, she is into the pits as well. So, yet to pit are Meyer, our leader, Isaacson in 2nd, Harrison 3rd, and Asgard currently in 5th. Just looking at Asgard at the moment. I'd expect him to emerge out probably somewhere around Jokumsdotter, around 10th, 11th place. There's Otterholt down there as well. Close between a couple of our drivers there. There is Otterholt. And Jokumsdotter, she has emerged. There you go, into 11th. Just behind, up 2 places from where she started in 13th. This is getting a little bit spicy between Jokelson and Scarrett. Only 6 tenths between the ahead of them.
That hasn't worked out for Larsen, has it, Tim? Sorry to cut in once
No,
again, but Larsen,
Wouldn't I, Seb?
he's what, 4 seconds off the back of Scarrett, and Scarrett himself is about half a second off Jokkelsen. Those two were locked in a battle, you know, before the pit stops commenced. So, yeah, Jokkelsen, by going longer, has really extended his gap, and Larsen, once again, with it all to do. And also, Tim, I was just sort of looking down the order. Hauksen, he's had some form of issue out there, and I don't think we've seen what happened to him, because he was, you know, battling Otterholt with that really close battle, you know, where Otterholt, our first to pit, was sort of forced into doing that because of Hauksen and Otterholt's battle. But I think Hauksen has had some form of issue out on track, and that's, you know, sort of put pay to that little battle that we were having.
I think he's had a bit of because he came out of the pits and it was shortly after, and I'm wondering whether, oh no, okay, so this is. Oh, there you go, Seb. Oh, wow, that was incredibly close there. So I didn't quite catch who it was coming through. Wow. Okay. That's not what I was expecting. I saw him come into the pits, but, well, arrived in, well, didn't quite arrive in spectacular fashion there. And nearly ended up taking out as one of the IGL Coatings drivers. I didn't quite catch who it was. There they, oh, no, he did catch them. That was Larsen. And that could be why Larsen is struggling for pace, Seb, and has lost that ground because of that contact, and maybe it's now carrying some damage.
I think you've hit the nail on the head once again, Tim. I think it doesn't look like Larsen has got any form of damage on the car, but I think that would have cost him a considerable amount of time. You don't expect to see a car bouncing across the track on pit entry, although that pit entry is super difficult, and we've seen even F1 drivers make mistake in pit lanes. Of course, Yuki Tsunoda, only one race ago. So yeah, we know how difficult pit lanes are, and it reminds me of the Nürburgring 24-hour accident with the driver that hit the pit lane wall. Just sort of had flashbacks to that. Different circumstances,
Seb,
but same.
Sorry to cut across you, mate, but Maya and Isaacson, they are into the pits on top two. No real changes for that one. But Harrelson is going to keep going again. There is Grebstrad. Now Maya is heading out of pit lane. Now Grebstrad and Isaacson were locking about. Harrelson is into the pits. Rackens in to obviously the second pit stop after heading in early on following that contact on lap one. But Grebstrad has lost a fair old chunk of time here, Seb. 2 seconds, so he was ahead of Isaacson before the pit stops and now has emerged 2 seconds behind him.
We're just seeing the drivers that feel more comfortable running their fuel tanks lower are gaining so much time, and it's simply there's just less weight in the car. You know, fuel weighs quite a lot, and you can gain like a tenth per litre.
You say that. Grebstrad ran long. Oh no, sorry, Isaacson ran longer. Apologies, I'm having a slight moment there. Yeah, no, sorry, you were spot on in what you were saying about, you know, running lower fuel and obviously putting in faster lap times because you're not having to haul that extra mass around the track with you.
No, you're not, and there's a really good calculation. I can't quite remember it off the top of my head, but it boils down to, you know, you lose about a tenth for every sort of 5 or 6 litres that you have in the tank. And if you think about, you know, how valuable a tenth of a second is in this Formula 3 championship, it's so crucial. So yeah, the drivers that have managed to weather the storm stayed out. Is Grebstrad making a few mistakes. That's the second time he's almost had an accident this lap, wide through turns 10 and 11 respectively. But Isaacson noticeably gaining on Anders Meyer. The lap before they came into the pits, Tim, Meyer once again had a slow lap, and Isaacson was 7/10 of a second quicker than our race leader. And yeah, that gap has come down around 3/10 this lap. So I think if this battle develops, I mean, we've already got 6 minutes left in the race, but Isaacson, he's got a chance, I think, is the best I could say. He's got a chance of taking the race win.
Yeah, it's not done and dusted, is it? Here, we've got. It's gonna be a real challenge for him. About 5 minutes, well, 5.5 minutes to be precise, left on the clock here in race 2, the final race of the season. After going a whole season without a victory, so many podiums, are we going to see Isaacson round out the season with a double victory here in the final round. Well, not long to find out.
Ooh.
Gullikson.
Sorry, Tim. Meyer was I thought he was going to spin through turn 6 there. He was all a quiver at the controls, and I, for a moment, really thought he was going to end up in the wall there.
That would have been absolutely disastrous after driving. Well, let's face it, it's been a flawless race from him. I'll tell you what, he's had a cracking race. Larsen up 5 places, sorry, up 10 places into 5th. Get my numbers slightly swapped round in my head there. He's had a blinder. That gap, it's going to be interesting when they come across the start-finish line, Sam, to see what the difference is between the 2 lap times between Meyer and Isaacson. Now, let's not forget, Meyer has got time in the bank. He doesn't need to push. He can afford to take things a little bit easily. Doesn't need to risk take compared to Isaacson. So you see the gap on the right-hand side and how it has shrunk. As we're on to lap 13, currently about to head out onto lap 14. So it was 5 seconds on lap 8. Now we're down to 3 seconds. So Isaacson taking from 2.1 seconds out of Meyer, and as it come across the line, well, it is a 1:49.3 for Meyer, and Isaacson, well, he did temporarily set fastest lap of the race with 1:48.99. Then Grabstrat just nipping that away from him, 1:48.89. So the tenth quicker than Isaacson's very temporary fastest lap of the race that lasted, well, only maybe a second at absolute most. But these guys are really pushing hard and absolutely going for it here in the closing stages. Bit of an interesting battle happening between Jakobstad and Arsenal and Gullikson, all over 9th place. 1.2 seconds covering those guys. There's Gullikson, like the aggressor against Asgard, and surely Seb, we're going to see a standard procedure turn 1 up the inside move here for Gullikson on Asgard.
Gullikson, after making that mistake earlier on in the race, has it all to do. As you rightly point out, Tim, a very easy manoeuvre, sort of one. Oh, and actually Asgard takes a spin in the background for good measure. Gullikson already had the move done. No contact there. Asgard simply tripping over the curb on the inside. Very easy to do. Yeah, he's just sort of taken the undulation drop a little bit too aggressively, and he's going to do well to not hit the barrier. You can't really spin turn in that direction. So we have a look, Gullikson up to 10th. Next driver in line is Joachim Stotter. 7/10 separating these two at the moment. Gullikson does have a lot of pace in that car. He's only down the order. You know, as I said, he made that mistake on that one, had to come into the pits for damage repair, and he's had to make a second trip into the pit, so he is really on the back foot. Joachim Stotter locking up through the Dunlop curve as we head towards the Schumacher S's. Flat out for Gullikson. Joachim Stotter looked fairly committed as well, heading under the bridge. Gonna pick your braking zone absolutely precisely, but Gullikson's just so much more pace. He can put the car wherever he wants to, and it just seems that the car is compliant. It likes just, you know, being able to push, and you know, it's sort of the opposite for Joachim Stotter. She can't really place the car where she would really have liked it, running onto the grass, and down the inside goes Gullikson. Another fairly procedural overtake. Gullikson, though, I take it back, has to correct with some mega oversteer inputs. Manages to get it all caught up in the end, but Joachim Stotter now to the inside of the final corner, turn 15. Joachim Stotter now on the back foot. She's now got the slipstream of Gullikson, heading down towards turn 1 once again, but I think Gullikson's got this one in the bag. Just to confirm that, Joachim Stotter lifting off the throttle, not really wanting to get involved in a fight. She's happy with her 10th place, especially now that Asgard, who, you know, she was also in that fight for, made that mistake at turn 1 a lap ago, and I think Joachim Stotter just happy just to survive and get to the end of this one.
Unfortunate for Joachim Stotter to lose that pace from Red to V's, but Gullikson happy to take that from her. So we're going to taking places. I'm going to see Larsen get the move done on Jakobsen. Keep against it here as we head through Michelin, through Versteiner, down the run, up the hill. Quite a bit of an elevation change here, much more than what the cameras show it. I tell you what, he has taken the white flag. Final lap, 1 lap left of this race. of the round and of the season as Jokkelsen. How did he manage that? Round the outside to defend from Larsen. And these two have got one lap, one set of opportunities remaining in which to duel this out and potentially swap positions. Can Larsen do it? Wow, we've got around about 1 minute 49 left remaining for these drivers. That's how long they've takes them to complete a lap around here. And Maya, that gap has closed down. It's down to 1.5 seconds. With Isaacson chasing him down, made that 1.4, but I think it could be too little, too late for him. Because he is running out of time. He's running out of road and mileage available to him. Looks like Maya is going to pick this up. It's going to take a mighty effort and luck and a mistake from Maya for Isaacson to catch him up, let alone then pass him. Grabstrad looking very comfortable. Good. But the last podium place of the season. Maya is making his way through Michelin. Run up to Advan. Only the chicane and Coca-Cola left for Anders Meyer, looking to make it a return to winning ways. We haven't seen him on the top step of the podium since race 1 at Silverstone in round 4, but he's going to do it here again in Germany at the Nürburgring on the Grand Prix circuit. Anders Myers takes the victory. It's another podium for the season for Mr. Consistency. Isaacson Grebstrad picks up the last podium place. All over 3 drivers finishing on the podium yet again in race 2. Great drive from then, and Jokkelsen has managed to fend off Larsen. I consider a margin. He's going to pick up 4th. See, so if those two are on top of one another, that's a bit surprising. So Larsen settles in 5th in the end there. Maybe just a little bit of complacency. It's all no, they did trade place. I think they've had a bit of contact on that last lap there, Seb, somewhere, and that's why we've seen the big time difference between the pair of them across the line.
I wouldn't be surprised. They've been so close to each other for most of the race. You know, Larsen, we pointed out only a few laps ago, had what, a 3.5 second deficit to Jokkelsen, which he's managed to close down. I think even managed to get past Alexander Scarrett. So Larsen's had the pace, maybe a little bit of frustration to go along with it. Asgard going to come across the line in 11th place. I'll be ruining that mistake he made at turn 1. I think Joachim Sotter as well had a few difficulties on the final lap. And Asgard, whoa, there's a huge accident between actually himself and Joachim Sotter. Some donuts going on though for our race winner, Anders Meyer. Superb drive from him. But yeah, what has happened between Joachim Sotter, what has happened between Jokkelsen and Larsen? I'd quite like to know, because that was a juicy battle from really the word go here tonight, Tim. But yeah, surprised that Jokkelsen managed just to hold out Larsen, and I think we're about to find out what happened.
So I've got oh no, it's not appearing my end, which is absolutely gutting.
So what's happening? So they're side by side through the final chicane. Larsen being pushed out wide by Jokkelsen. Looks fairly good racing so far. Larsen now through the final corner, Coca-Cola corner. And now is he going to get the big run down the back straight? So this is heading on to the final lap. So what is going to happen into turn 1? Larsen not really got the straight line speed that you'd expect him to have, as he is in the slipstream. Turn 1 looks fairly decent for him. In fact, if anything, Jokkelsen making the mistake, locking up Larsen the tighter line through turn 2. It's going to allow him to try and maybe make a move through turn 3. A little bit of a mistake there. Rear locking now coming into that Formula 3 car. You see the fact that he had to make so many micro adjustments on the steering wheel to get it slowed down. But Larsen's still very close to Jokkelsen. Through turn 5 we go. Nothing really happening so far. Larsen just on the back of Jokkelsen, and can't quite believe that they ended with such a deficit between the two. Larsen now moving to the outside as we head towards the Dunlop curve to the hairpin. They're side by side. And No contact made. Larsen having to concede the place, tries to get the over-under, gets the cutback, and now he's going to have to go all the way around the outside of the Schumacher S's. He's going to find a whole lot of door being closed there. Actually, no, he manages to hold it on, so they're side-by-side out of the Schumacher S's. Jokkelsen's got the inside line as we head into turn 10. RTL curve, they're still side-by-side. As we head into turn 11, Larsen, oh, that's what's happened. So Larsen's made a mistake on the exit of turn 11. They were side by side. That was Larsen's really to lose, and he made a mistake, and that's what ultimately, Tim, gave them or gave Jokkelsen that 4th place. Larsen, so much speed, but just unable to find a way past Jokkelsen.
That explains that one. Wow. Drama right to the very last moment here in the Nordic F3 Championship. But let's just take you through your race results for race 2, the final race of the season. Anders Meyer secures another victory for the season. That's going to put him on 6 race victories for the season out of 12 races. Cracking result for him. 50% of the races he has won. Great stuff from him. We've got Isaacson, Mr. Consistency, as we said during the commentary. It's another podium place for him. Make it only 2 times this season he has not finished on the podium. Great stuff. And he is your champion of the season. Grebstrad, another podium for him. A great end to the season for him. That's 4 podiums for the last 4 races, including those 2 wins last time out of Barcelona. Jokkelsen 4th, Larsen. Wow, we saw that battle between himself and Jokkelsen. That's a stop for 5th in the end, but a great recovery drive from the back of the grid. Scarrett 6th. Harrelson, Otto Holt, who started from pole, finishes 8th with Gullikson, and Jokkelsen rounding out your top 10. Asgard, last driver on the lead lap in 11th with Jakob Behrens and Yesterbacken, who of course have been that last lap 1 action. They finished 12th and 13th, 1 lap down. Likewise, there's Ryan and Houghton to round out your final field here of the season. But let's have a bit of a chat to some of our drivers. And first up, let's have a chat to what I do believe. I know we haven't quite, the points we've shown on screen don't account for the drop weeks, but surely I believe this has got to mean you are the champion for the Nordic F3 Championship. Niels Erik Isaacson joins us now. Congratulations, and also picking up what's going to be a heavily overdue first victory of the season.
Yeah, thank you. I'm actually not sure who took the victory, but there has to be some calculations. I think it was par on point before this race. So in my mind, I think Anders won. But anyways, it was a good fight between us, and congratulations to the other guys also.
Definitely, and well, 2 contrasting races. I mean, race 2, obviously Anders managed to get ahead and just sailed off into the distance, but towards the end there, you're really starting to reel him in and catch him at an absolute massive rate of knots. Was that just where you looked after the tyres for the race?
Yeah, I think I managed to keep the temperature down because there is no problem with the tires. It's just the temp. I think that was the reason. I got hauled up a little bit by Håkon, and luckily he pitted early, so I could have some fast laps, but it was not enough.
No, but it did mean that you managed to get the jump on Grebstrad. I mean, you were behind him before the round of pit stops, and then you emerged afterwards, 2 seconds clear. It was a brilliant piece of strategy that definitely worked. And I mean, a nice bit of redemption after obviously we saw you myself and Seb were both in the country last night in the GT Trophy Summer Series, where it was not the best of races that you would have hoped for after an epic fight for second place. And well, definitely, I think this has got to be a nice way to make up for maybe the bit of disappointment last night.
Yeah, last night is forgotten, so yeah.
Exactly.
Next race is Apex on Tuesday, so
Definitely be good to see you back in the car once again. Congratulations on the victory and what that looks like the championship as well. Before we let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to at all?
Yeah, to the organizers and the broadcast team, and of course my team, Miguel Coatings, and our main sponsor, Sande Trafikkskole. Yeah, thank you very much.
No problem at all. That is Nils Erik Isaacson with the victory and a second place in race 2 here today in the final round at the Nürburgring. Seb, I understand you are standing by with, I believe it's Anders Meyer you've managed to grab.
I have indeedy, Tim. Good evening and welcome, Anders Meyer, to the commentary box once again. And, you know, it's a season of what could have been great final round from you, but I don't think you've done quite enough to gain the ultimate prize of the championship winner.
No, I knew that I was equal on points with Nils Erik, and then I don't know what happened in the qualifying because the car didn't behave as it has at all. It just didn't do what I wanted, so the quality was difficult. And I knew that Nils Erik had the fastest lap in the sprint race as well, so I knew that the final race I would have to have some help from Grebstad and maybe the fastest lap and everything. But you know, it's been an up and down season. I had some crashes in the beginning, and I wasn't able to race in Spain. So it's been mostly about learning, not too much about results. But you know, it's always nice to win.
It certainly is. And so, yeah, because you said that you struggled in qualifying. You had the fastest time in practice. So what do you think went wrong for qualifying? And do you think that, you know, if you had managed to get the qualifying that you would have started, you know, slightly up the field, do you think that we could be talking to you as the champion, or did you think that Isaacson was just a little bit too quick today?
That's difficult to say. I felt like he was quicker than me in the sprint race, and I knew I had a couple of tenths to go on from practice, but I don't know what happened. It just came to qualifying session and it just didn't work. Maybe it was the tires that wasn't in the right window. I don't know. I never really understood the tires on these cars because yet again I ruined the tires midway through the main race, doing a couple of attempts on the fastest lap, and then my tires were done. So Nils Erik was catching really fast. So that's one thing I haven't learned all season, the tires. But maybe some other time.
Yeah, you're saying you haven't learned the tyres, but have taken quite a few race victories. You clearly know enough to be quicker than everybody else on the field. I mean, great job, and yeah, great job by you. And talk us through your start, because you started the race 2 in what, 7th or 6th place, and you ended up leading. Did you get lucky, or was that your plan? You wanted to be ultra aggressive on the opening lap to be able to sort of take the lead and control the race as much as you could?
The plan was to wait and see how it went into turn 1 to see if anyone else was going to be aggressive, but everyone took it really nice. So then I just thought that, okay, this is my chance because everyone is going to play it cool. So, and I also knew that I had some points to catch up on Nils Erik, so I really didn't have anything to lose. I knew that he would climb the field as well. So the only chance I had was to attack on the first lap, and it worked out, and I got a good gap, but I used too much of the tires too early, I think. So that's what made Nils Erik catch up, but it was just enough.
Yeah, well, you certainly felt like you had control of that race. It's been a pleasure to commentate on you all season. Before we let you go and celebrate your race 2 victories, anybody you'd like to give a shout out to at all on the broadcast?
Yeah, I have to give a shout out to my team, of course. Even though I've been alone in the series, they have been following and keeping a lookout for me. Thank our sponsors, Racing Lab, CarX.no, and KTM. And as always, thanks to you guys and thanks to the organizers of the league. It's been a pleasure.
It certainly has. Well, we hope to see you fairly soon back again in the Apex Racing commentary box. But until then, we thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. And I do believe, Tim, we have time for just one more interview, and I think you might have even managed to find our 3rd place man for both races, I do believe.
We have done indeed, Seb. I've managed to go off and find Hackam Grebstrad. Wow, what a great end to the season for yourself. 2 victories and 2 third places in the last 2 rounds. You couldn't ask for a much better finish to the season.
Wow. I was hoping for more today, but didn't quite have the pace. Wonder if my setup might have been a bit off.
Yeah, I mean, you did show great pace out there, and obviously you picked up that last pole position of the season. The first time we've seen you on polling from qualifying, it was it was there or thereabouts, and maybe just that little bit of luck didn't quite come your way.
Yeah, like I definitely had a little bit too much downforce, so I got really, like they really got past me on the straights. But yeah, I don't know what happened in qualifying. Everything just kind of fell together, and yeah, felt like a really good lap.
And I mean, we've watched you pretty much improve throughout as the season's gone on. There's always been a bit of underlying pace, but obviously that podium at no, sorry, it was. Well, I'm trying to think. Yes, it was podium at Interlagos in race 2 from round 3, and sort of from that, it seemed to a little bit of time away for the podium, but you could see you developing. And have you found that you've developed and improved as a driver as the championship has gone on?
Well, I don't know. I it feels wrong to kind of blame this, but I think some of my finishes, especially like the sprint races early on, is due to bad qualifying, and like there was a rule got introduced halfway through the season, and all of a sudden I'm a little further up on qualifying. So yeah.
Definitely, it was great to see, and great to we ran out with the podium. Before we let you go, Hakon, anyone you want to give a shout out to us all?
Just everyone participating, and yeah, you guys for broadcasting, and the people making this happen. It's a good series.
It's been an absolute brilliant series. I know I've certainly enjoyed it. I know from speaking to Seb, he's enjoyed it too. And it's with the great racing you guys have put on, it just makes our lives all the more easier and all the more enjoyable. And congratulations, and I'm sure we'll speak to you again at some point in the future. That's Hakon Grabstad with the double third place here today in the final round from the Nürburgring. Now, Seb, wow, what a season it has been from Spa round 1 all those months ago, Kota, Interlagos, Silverstone, Barcelona, to the Nürburgring this season. So this round even, with a slightly delayed start due to obviously the iRacing downtime that put pay to things, but I think it was definitely a round well worth waiting for.
Oh, it certainly was. It delivered on almost every level. We had, really interesting battles for the lead and all over, in fact, in race 1. And then race 2 delivered some really clean, nice, sort of, really good racing that we've come to expect from the Nordic F3 Championship. A little bit of a threat of the lead swapping hands as we got closer to the end. And the strategy with the pit stop. It's been, an absolute pleasure. You're just, talking to Grevstrad, and I completely agree. It's been an absolute honour to commentate on the Nordic F3 Championship. Absolutely loved it. The introduction of the pit stop in the longer format second race just spices up the rate to no end, and you always get these really interesting storylines. I don't think we've had a single, not even dull race, but even sort of okay race this season. They've all been absolutely astounding, each and every one of them.
They most certainly have indeed, and I know we've definitely enjoyed ourselves here at Apex Racing TV, but just to keep you up to date, coming up on the channel, wow, honestly, with the lone and only show here today on Thursday, but I think definitely well worth defining of that lonesome spot. Wow, what a weekend of motorsport we have got coming up for you on the channel. Tomorrow night kicks off the weekend of action. It's the ARL prototypes, where our producer Lewis Araya had an excellent outing, vying for the lead in LMP1 last time out at Hockenheim. make sure you tune in to see if he can do the same again. Round 7 at Mosport Park. And then we've also got the Radical Racing Challenge for Virginia International Speedway. Then Saturday, wow, the triple header. Apex Racing Academy F4 from Interlagos. Seb will be in the commentary booth for that one. Then we've got Azatec Sim Sport GT Challenge from Silverstone. And then me and Seb will both be in the commentary booth for Formula Renault 3.5 from Fuji. This is some great, exciting drama from that one, and that's going to be well worth tuning in for, staying up into the small hours. And then on Sunday, well, it's turning pretty much into the 7 Tim show. I'll be in the commentary booth for the SRF Weekend Warriors. Big grids, big action, big drama. Well worth tuning in for that one from where we are now at the Nürburgring. And then Seb will be rounding out the weekend with all the drama in IGP Fun F3 from Suzuka in Japan. But wow, what a season it has been for the Nordic F3 Championship here on Apex Racing TV. Fan excitement, drama in its droves. It's been an absolute pleasure to commentate on it. Congratulations to all of our drivers, some great racing out there, and to our victors. But from the commentary booth, I've been Tim Cox with Seb Bosch Williams and Lewis Araya on production. Thanks very much, and we'll see you soon here at Apex Racing TV.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar world champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.